our table grapes, the first procedure, physical, cultural procedure we do other than trying to control the weeds, is what we call shoot thinning. The grapevines produce a lot of shoots, as you can see. A lot of them, however, are in the wrong place. They don't have fruit on them, and they're, we would call extraneous. They won't do anything other than grow and use nutrients. So what we do is the crew will come through, one on each side, and pick which was the best shoot. Obviously you want the shoots that, see the baby grapes? You want shoots that have grapes on them, and you want to take the shoots that don't have grapes on them off. It's kind of like pruning a tree. You know, trees need to be pruned to help their growth. The other advantage of shoot thinning is to space the fruit. Okay, if we have 3 shoots and they're all together like this and they all have grapes, we know that that's going to cause problems. As the grapes grow, they'll bump, they'll rub into each other, and confined space also means fungal diseases. It's a normal, common sense procedure. That's what we're doing. It goes pretty quick. It does take discernment, however, and you don't want to go too quick, but it takes discernment to say, okay, is this a good one or is it a bad one? One of the things that we try and do is we have shoots here that don't have fruit on them, but they left them. Now, why would they do that? Because we have a blank space here. So what we're trying to do with this new cane that we laid down last year is get new shoot growth that next year they'll have spurs and then they'll produce maybe in a year or 2. So if you say, hey, John, you told us that if they don't have fruit on them, they remove them. Well, yeah, 90% of the time, but we have a blank spot here with no fruit. So we're trying to grow new shoots. This doesn't have fruit on it. This doesn't have fruit on it. This doesn't have fruit on it. And we'll see if we can get a good, what we call a spur by the end of the year. And when we prune in the wintertime, hopefully we'll have a good cane there that will turn into a producing piece of grapevine next year. The next practice, what I'll call physical practice, we're controlling the weeds all the time. If we're controlling mildew all the time. But the next practice is what we call leaf pulling. The basal, as you can see, this is a good shoot. These shoots out here, these leaves, not shoots, you can see they're little tiny suckers and then they get bigger as they go down. We call these the basal leaves. That's the first one, first or second one coming out of the shoot here. What happens to the basal leaves is they're like me, they get old and they don't do as much work for the vine as they do starting out. The transpiration and the nutrient movement in the young leaves, and I call this one young, is much more than this one here. The other reason is it gets shaded. And if it gets shaded, it doesn't get as much sunlight, which doesn't get as much photosynthesis, which means it begins to lose its effectiveness. So what will happen by the next time we come around, these things will be way up here. There'll be a lot more shade. So we'll do what we call leaf thinning. And there's 2 reasons for that. One main reason is for later on in the year to have air movement to slow down the mildew process, or what we call fungal diseases. If you have a real dense canopy in here, no air movement, moisture stays, and as I've tried to say, 3 things for fungal diseases, which is time, free moisture, and heat units. And if you leave them all bunched together, you create an environment for fungal diseases. So what they'll do is, if you were to come back in a couple of weeks, you will see, obviously, given 95 degrees coming tomorrow, the canopy will be much denser. There will be a lot of shade, and so they'll be coming, and depending on how aggressive we want to be, they'll take every leaf below or next to or near the bunch, so that When those bunches begin to stretch out, what you'll have here is a layer of fruit, a row of fruit with no leaves. It doesn't hurt the vine because, again, these are the producers. These are the things these are the engine of the vine right now. Well, they all are, but in a couple of weeks, these will gradually slow down and not be as effective as the leaves up here as far as production and, getting a punch to the grapevine.